Hello, everybody. My name is Edward S. Redcar, and I'm your host on Edward S. Redcar's Entertainer Chat. And today I have the great and exclusive pleasure of welcoming Bexs Barlow to my show today, who happens to be the very first talk show guest of season 2 of Edward S. Redcar's Entertainer Chat. And she holds that exclusive honor and no one else. How are you doing today, Bexs?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me on the show.
Oh, well, thank you very
Birthday
much.
to the show.
Yeah, thank you. If I had a whistle or a streamer, I would blow it and have balloons,
Yeah,
and the
we missed
whole
out.
nine
On
and the
some
whole
balloons.
9 yards. So we'll just have to pretend. So I'll just raise a cup and
We'll
and
drink to
and
that.
toast
We'll drink.
and drink to that. Right. Okay, that's the first time I ever did that. The first anniversary show, birthday show. So that was great, and I'm glad you can be aboard today to celebrate this with me. So yeah, you're acting and directing and writing poetry and all sorts of different things, and looking at both your your Instagram page and your Facebook page. Absolutely phenomenal what you're doing and what you continue to do. And I noticed on your Instagram page that you listed that you are a chameleon, have optimistic pessimism, and nihilistic hope. So that kind of intrigued me. So could you kind of explain to me and to all of our viewers out there a little bit about each of those qualities that you have?
Well, so obviously the chameleon is, so you can look at it personally and professionally. So personally, I do have sort of this way of just kind of slotting into a room. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. And professionally, it's more about having range when it comes to performances and being able to turn your hand at anything that's thrown your way. And I do like to try and do that.
I've noticed that in a lot of your posts, or in most of your posts, or in all of your posts, I've noticed that you have like little clips here and there of different films you've done, or like just like like impromptu things that you do just to post, just to show your talent. And I've commented this to you before, like in chats where we've chatted Instagram back and forth. It's like I'm amazed at the way that well, actors as we are, we all transform our personalities and our behavior to into a role. But I've noticed that you change completely. It's like even your face changes, and I don't know how you do it, but it's like your face is still your face, but the way that you perform doesn't look like your face. It looks like somebody else's face. I don't know if that makes sense. Is there any way that you can describe how you do that?
That is the highest compliment. Thank you so
Oh, you're
much.
welcome. You're welcome.
It means a lot. Um, I don't I don't really know how I do it. And I think that's the thing with acting is it's really difficult to put it into words because a lot of what we do is so feeling based and it's so internal. I think you have to be able to, whatever it is that your character is experiencing, you just need to try and find a way of experiencing it yourself so that you are feeling what the character is feeling. And then a lot of it then just sort of happens because if you're feeling it, your body's going to respond however the character's body would respond.
Mhm,
That's the only
mhm,
way that I can kind of articulate it, I
mhm,
think.
mhm. And
Thank you.
it's not, I mean, it's not even only your expressions where you take on the role of the different character, but it's like um, the only way I can explain it is like your face changes. I mean, you are Bex, but it's like with another face. And it's like I said, it always amazed me how you do that. And I look forward to always watching you perform because it's like, well, which person is she going to change into next? Who can I expect to who can I expect to see next that I don't know? I know Bexs, but who can I expect to see that's entirely different from her, and maybe even like your voice changes and your mannerisms. So kudos to you. I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. So
Thank
yeah.
you. I wish I could explain better what it is that I do, but I don't think about it, or I don't overthink about it if I can help it.
Right. Well, probably by not thinking about it, that allows you to do it, right? It's like if you put too much thought into it, then there'd be too many details that you're thinking about at the same time, and it probably would never happen. But since you just all let it go and have it happen naturally, then you're not Bexs anymore. You're Alice or Joan or whoever you happen to
Take
play.
over to the character and just let them take over for a little bit.
Yeah,
Let them
yeah. So now that we've kind of broken the ice, so to speak, with how you like approach roles and things like that, how you change. I always ask this question of all of my guests because it's so interesting, so many different varied answers of the reasons why. So I'll pose the question to you now. How did you become first interested in acting?
It's a strange one. I've been asked this question before, and I really want to be able to give a detailed answer, but I can't because for as far back as I can remember, since I was a little child, it's always been there. There's never been a light bulb moment where I've been like, oh yeah, this is like, I love acting, or the like one specific moment where it's just become clear to me that I love acting and I want to act. It's just always kind of been there. So like from being very little, I was always daydreaming and like having like little thoughts of where I would be performing, like be it on stage or in the camera or even singing. I'm not going to do that, but but even that, just performing and emoting and finding different ways of doing it. I was always doing that in my head. And when I was alone in my bedroom, I do it too. When I didn't have a lot of confidence, so I didn't really. It's not something that I've been doing since I was a child. It's something that I've started to do as I've gotten older. As my confidence has grown, I've decided to bite the bullet, as it were, and start to act.
Right.
But as a child, a lot of it was just I would be on my own, and I would come up with little scenes in my mind, and I'd act them out in my bedroom over and over again, and change them and play with them, and come up with all these characters and stories. And so I think it's just always been there, and that's
Yeah. I think that's mostly the way it is for most of us that are performers. It's like something that we've always felt, and it just naturally comes out, right? It's like it has to come out. It can't stay in here, right? It's got to come out, right?
exactly. It really does. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. Just like with me, I I first caught what they call the acting bug, and I was probably, I don't know, maybe 12 or 13, but I mean, it was always in there somehow, but it just happened to come out then, and it's like, geez, this is cool. I says, I'd really like to do this like for the rest of my life, constant if I could, which for most of us, it's not constant. It's always, it comes and it goes when the opportunities present itself. And
I
when I
think as
was,
far as deciding to do it quote unquote professionally, because obviously, like you say, on a personal level, it's always been there.
yeah,
I don't think it was until I was probably in my mid to late 20s, to be honest with you, until I decided to really take it seriously.
okay,
And that was basically I spent obviously a lot of my life without much confidence. But as I got older, I
hmm
started to feel more comfortable in my own skin and in who I am. And
hmm
once I got over that hump in my life of being comfortable in myself, I
yeah,
was then able to say, okay, well, that's what I want to do. So why am I not doing it? I'm confident enough now. Let's do it. And that's when I started to go to acting lessons and things like that.
Okay.
And kind of the reaction that I was getting from people was quite validating, because obviously
Mhm.
you never really know in yourself whether, you know, what you're doing as a performer is coming across as it should.
Mhm.
But the
Mhm.
reaction that I was getting from people was validating, in the sense of, okay, yeah, so maybe I can do this. People do want to see this. They are happy with my performances. So
Mhm. Mhm.
well,
So in your early years, in your childhood years, like going to school or grade school, the early years, uh, did you ever you never got like involved, say like in school plays or anything like that? It was much later in life.
yeah, so when I was in younger years, we always had like little talent shows and things like that, and I did get involved.
Oh,
Uh,
okay, okay.
yeah, but I think that was more because I felt like I had to.
It's like I gotta let it out. I gotta let it out. I can't let it stay in, right? I can't let it stay in.
That was my dog. I'm very sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Hey, if your dog wants to come in the interview, put him on your lap, and we'll talk. And I'll talk to both of you if you want. So it's
Oh,
it's
thank
it's
you.
it's open to once my camera turns on. It's open to anybody that's in the house or wherever you happen to be. So feel free. It's okay. It's okay. So.
Yeah, so I did take part in a few sort of talent shows and things like that
Mhm.
when I was younger. And when I got to secondary school, they'd always put on the school production, and I'd usually just do little things like being in the offstage chorus and stuff like that. That was
Okay.
as much as I was comfortable with doing.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but when I was comfortable with my friends and stuff at home, we'd always put on little performances for our
Oh yeah.
parents and stuff,
Yeah.
as you do, the hairbrushes and things like that. So
Hair brushes like for microphones, you mean?
yeah.
Okay. Well,
Brushes and deodorant cans and just bouncing on the bed and
well, I've got something to tell you that you don't know about, and none of my audience knows about. When I was a younger child, way before I got involved in performing, I remember that my mother told me when I was like very small, maybe I wasn't even 5 years old, that you know okay, she'd be cleaning the house and she'd have the vacuum cleaner out, the hose attached to the vacuum cleaner. And she was saying, like, sometimes, she'd stop the vacuum cleaner and went to do something else. And so the vacuum cleaner with the hose and the nozzle was left all alone in the room. And I would wander in the room, and it's like I would pick up the hose with the nozzle, with the vacuum cleaner off, of course, and I would start to do something like it was like a microphone and a cord. So
see.
it was in me. Yeah, it was in me back then, but I didn't know it, and it didn't reappear until, like I said, later years. Like when I was 12 or 13. So that's just a little sidebar to let everybody know that we all. What's that?
Really cute.
That's a little sidebar to let everybody know that all of us go through that, whether we use a hairbrush or a can or a vacuum cleaner nozzle or whatever. So it's perfectly cool. It's like all part of the process. So to develop who we are today. Um, so you were saying that like in secondary school plays and things like that. So uh, uh, where you grew up, like outside of school, were there any like organizations like community theater, like volunteer theater, local community theater?
Yeah. So our local theatre is called the Octagon in Bolton, and they did do kind of like youth theatre and things like that. And I did reach a point where I considered it. Um, but so I'm from a working class background, and it's not always something that, you know, you can do when you're from a working class background, not just necessarily because of your circumstances, but also I think for a lot of working class youngsters, even now, there's, when it comes to acting and performing and anything to do with the arts, they are encouraged away from it. not because parents aren't supportive, not because, you know, adults aren't supportive of them doing that. They are 100% more for hobbies than for entertaining it as a profession. Because let's be honest, it's not big bucks. Do you know what I mean? We do it a lot because we love it and things like that. And for those reasons, I think it can be very difficult for children from class backgrounds to get into acting, performing in any way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there was the option, but I think other things took priority at the time.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's just like the same with me. You and I share that in common. I come from a working class background. My father, he worked like in a wood manufacturing factory for years and years. Steel tank manufacturer factory years and years. My mother, she worked in a dress factory, you know, sewing together pieces to, you know, to make clothes. So yeah, no, I absolutely get that. And yeah, I went through that myself because, well, things in your life other than performing have to take priority at some point. So well, in my case, you know, you sort of have to put it sort of like on the back burner, on the back side burner until you're able to do it. And like we were talking about earlier in the show today, that it's always there in you, that passion, but it's just that sometimes you can't let it out at certain points of your life, right?
Exactly right.
And yeah, that's the same thing that I experienced. But passion is always in there, so we let it out when we
This is
can
it.
let it out. Yeah.
If you do have the opportunity to, you know, go to local theatres and do things like that, fantastic, absolutely do it.
Oh
If you
yeah,
don't,
yeah,
you don't do it
yeah,
anyway. In
yeah.
any way you can, like I say, get the hairbrushes, do what you want, build yourself a little stage in your bedroom and do
That's
whatever
right.
you need to do. Just do it.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So, besides your talent for acting, I noticed in your posts that you also write poetry, and uh, you also accompany that with different photos, like whether they be of the outdoors or whatever they happen to be. So, um, how did you become interested in poetry?
Um, so I've always been interested in poetry. I love to read poetry and stuff. Usually the usually the shorter ones. My attention span isn't massive. I'm not gonna lie. But that's one of the things that I realized quite early on when it came to poetry was that you can explore so much, you can convey so much, you can receive so much in just a few words. And that is everything.
Hmm.
Like to say a lot without really saying a lot. Just there's something about that that really lights a fire under me.
Uh-huh.
Like I love it, and that's why I enjoy it so much. And it's been really fun on social media being able to. I always try and make everything that I do some sort of artistic outlet for myself primarily, just as a way of exploring thoughts and feelings and emotions. So yeah, I'll try and make sure that like the music matches the imagery and the words make sense for what you're seeing and things like that.
Right,
But yeah,
right.
poetry is a really important art form, I think, in itself,
Hmm.
because you don't need to be able to concentrate for long periods of time. You can still explore a lot and learn a lot. You can convey a lot without saying a lot. You
Hmm.
know, just a really simple metaphor or simile or just a few sentences
Hmm. Hmm.
can speak volumes.
Hmm. So,
That's what I love about it.
besides your interest in doing that, uh, did you ever get into, say, more detailed study of like poetry? I mean, the more and more you got interested in, the more and more that you wrote. Did you ever get interested, or I shouldn't say interested, but um, in in the research to learn about the different timings of the verse,
Like prose and things. No, not really, because obviously a lot of it we covered in school in
Okay.
literature and English language. So a lot of that was covered in school. When it came to being out of school, see, I personally, this is only me personally, struggle with academia in its current form. The education system isn't necessarily built for people that think in the way that I do, and that I'm sure a lot of other people do. So a lot of what I do is sort of self-taught, and it's a little bit staggered, but I enjoy it that way.
Mm-hmm.
I've never considered doing it, sort of learning how to necessarily publish or things like that, or learning the specifics of like prose and verse and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I just, because I do it for the love ultimately when
Oh
it comes
yeah,
to
you have to. Yeah, whatever art form that
But the response that I've had online has been really heartwarming, because ultimately I did it thinking I would really be interested. It was just an outlet for myself to
uh-huh.
be able to get that out.
Hmm.
But it's a lot of people seemed to resonate with people, and a lot of the
Hmm.
comments that I received
Hmm. Hmm.
privately, and a lot of things that people had said was like they really identified with a lot of the stuff that I was,
Yeah, yeah.
trying to say, or they kind of they understood it in their own way. And I love that. Like
Hmm.
I might have meant to say something with my poetry. Somebody could have read it in a totally different way, but that makes sense to them. And
Hmm.
that's valid.
Yeah,
And I think that's great.
yeah, yeah. I know it just seems like poetry versus like regular verse, regular written word, if that's the correct term to use. It seems like it packs so much more emotion into like a few lines of poetry, what might maybe take like a half a page of a written page to say without being poetic about it. I mean, that's my take on
I
it.
agree there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, did anyone, well, you says that you're self-taught. Do you know of anyone, say, uh, in your family that was interested in poetry? Is it something that maybe rubbed off a little bit on you, maybe inherited some interest in poetry, or you were totally the one that started in your life? I mean, without like any outside influences by like any family or friends that you know?
Thinking about it now, and this is quite a nice moment for me because I'm only just sort of really putting this together. I think it was my grandfather.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
He wasn't a poet, he wasn't a writer, he wasn't a performer. Um, but he was very good with words.
okay.
Very
Okay.
good with words, and he was very educated. And he always loved to. You could sit and you could talk with him for hours, hours and hours and hours, and I'd never get bored
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
he just had such a way with words and storytelling. And now that I think about it, yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's my granddad.
Yeah, there are people in our lives that have that trait where you could just sit down with them, and like you said, you could talk to them like forever, and never get tired of the sound of their voice, or never get tired with what they're talking about. And it probably it's that it kind of strikes like a similar chord, like between you and, like you were saying, your grandfather. So it's you were probably both, not probably, but you were both on the same wavelength, right? It's like the same wavelength, the same thought processes. So all those thoughts were like going back and forth between you two, and that's probably why you always enjoyed it so much, and never got tired of it.
It's really
So
interesting. Thank you, Edward.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So besides poetry, uh, going in a different direction now about things that you've been auditioning for. In the feature film, also named Kara, by I have to mention this to give them publicity too, by Black Octopus Productions, and that happened earlier this year. So, what interested you in auditioning, and just kind of tell us a bit about what Kara is about, the film.
So I played the role of Julie in the film Cara. And yeah, so I met an incredible woman by the name of Michaela Longdon at Act Up North in Manchester. And so she was one of my tutors there. And she was the casting director on Cara. And she got in touch with me and she said, there's a role that I would like you to audition for. So I did. I went in and I auditioned for Michaela and I auditioned for who incredible director from Black Octopus. And he also wrote Cara. Yeah, and I auditioned and I got the role. And I'm really grateful to Michaela. She's an incredible tutor, but more so she's an incredible life coach. She does a lot of life coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And I recommend her. She's incredible.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So
the role was very, very interesting, and the film is very, very interesting. It touches on a lot of really necessary topics to be looking at and to be discussing, and it does it very succinctly in a short space of time. And I think that that's very clever. It was a difficult role in the sense that it's quite dark. The film is a very dark film. It is a horror, ultimately. Yeah. So my poor character, Julie, is married to a man called Paul, and he's not very nice. He's not a very nice man, Paul, and he doesn't treat Julie very well. It's quite sad to watch, but I think it's also very important to watch. And that's all I'll say.
Yeah.
I'm very excited for the film to come out. I think it's going to be received well. I hope it's received well.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really good film, and I'm excited.
Mm-hmm. So that sort of character intrigued you, and you wanted to explore more, and then that's what drew your interest to audition for that film.
It was a story that needed to be told, and I'm
Yeah.
really that
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to tell it.
Yeah. Now, your other film that I wanted to talk about was a film that you were in a collaboration with Ella Muscroft, whom I interviewed only like last week, and so I got her take on the film play project, and also Michael Lake, who I've also interviewed on my show, and you were the film director. You were the director of the film Two Artists in a Relationship, which was also a play, like almost at the same time. And I mentioned to Ella that absolutely intrigued me, that in the space of only a few days, you did both a film and a play, and that was absolutely awesome that all of that happened in the space within a few days. So that was in July 2022, just about a year ago. And could you describe your experiences with being a film director in that project that was both a film and a play almost at the same time, and then how you became first interested in directing?
Well, it was a very, very interesting turn of events. The experience was incredible, and I'm really grateful to Ella. I don't think the whole thing could have been pulled together without her. Organizational skills are incredible. she's an absolute powerhouse.
Yes.
She really is.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Yeah.
I had never directed before in my entire life. I had never put myself forward as a director. It's not something that I had ever considered. But Ella and I had become really good friends, and
Yeah.
she knew that she was going to be acting in the film and in the play, and she needed somebody to direct. And Ella and I have always had a really good way of um, connecting creatively, like sort of with creative visions. And so she asked me if I would direct, and I said yes. And it was an incredibly eye-opening experience. I spent so many I spent so many sleepless nights beforehand, just like going through YouTube tutorials and Googling things and calling director friends and being like, please help me, I've never done this. But I didn't want to let Ella down.
Oh no, yeah.
Yeah, so I did my best and we pulled it together. But honestly, I'll be completely honest with you now. I didn't need to direct performance-wise because Michael and Ella are just fantastic performers.
Absolutely.
And the team that we had, Hannah and Millie, just fantastic. I didn't really need to do much in that regard. I'll be completely honest with you. As a team, it was just incredible. And it's amazing that we pulled it off in the short period of time that we did. It was just amazing. Like,
Yeah.
that's incredible. Ella really is incredible.
That
I'm not sure that it's. I think I'd like to stay in front of the camera. So there are some projects, like I'm working on one at the minute called Broken Shells, which is one of my own that I'm working on with Francesca Lloyd, a friend of mine who is also an actress.
Okay.
And I am co-directing on that, and that's more just sort of out of necessity for what we're doing and what we're trying to achieve. But ultimately, there are people far more able to direct than I am. I think I'm going to stay in front of them for a while and learn a little bit more.
Well, I mean, you're gaining experience the more that you do. I mean, it's like you know more now than you did when you first started getting into the project with Michael and Ellis. So yeah, I found that out myself, like things that I don't know how to do, and I sort of just jump in head first, like they say, into the deep end of the pool. And yeah, it's like scary at first, but it's like, you start to get used to how things are done, and it's like, yeah, yeah, I can do this. This is pretty cool. Once you get your feet wet and you sort of know, what direction that you have to follow. Yeah, we've all been there, and yeah, who knows? We might see you in the roles of both actor and director. More and more 50-50, right?
What maybe?
Yeah. So let's see, the film was made first, right? And then a few days later, it was the play.
That's right, yeah. So we were up north here, in the north of England, and we were filming all day in Ella's house. She opened up her home to us and she was very gracious. And then we had, I think it was, from memory, I think it was one day sort of like layover in between. And then we were off to London, down in the south of England, to put on the play.
Now, how much of a distance was it between like where you were filming and where you put the play on? I mean, it wasn't close by, was it? I mean, it was quite a distance.
Totally different ends of the country.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
So I think in the car it takes about 4 hours, 4.5 hours. Yeah, it's a long way.
Wow. Well, and the play and the film came out awesome. So I mean, that's a tribute to all of your talent there. I mean, pulling it off like that, and like I was saying to Ella when I was talking to her on the interview, I was saying it's probably been done before, but I can't think of anything offhand where a film and a play has been done so close together. Maybe like some plays, the play reaches the stage first, and then they get the idea, well, geez, this would make a great film, and then sometime after that, the film comes out in the theaters. But I can't think of anything offhand where it's almost like back to back. I mean, that's quite a tribute to all of you that were involved in the film, and yeah.
It's Ella. She came up with the idea, and when she mentioned it, I thought, how are we going to do this? It was daunting, but
Yeah,
yeah, we did.
yeah.
It was an incredible. It wasn't just an incredible professional experience. It was an incredible life experience.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh sure. Yeah, it's like how many times do you have the opportunity in life to do something like that? I mean, it's like you're breaking new ground, and it's both exciting and scary at the same time, right? Because you don't know how all the pieces are going to all fit together in the end there. But yeah, it must have been a total rush, a total head rush. It's like, yeah, we did this, we pulled it off. So that must have been a great feeling at the same time there, and Michael, it's not exactly like he lived down the street, right? I mean, he had to come all the way from Canada, right?
He came from Canada. He came all over on an airplane from Canada.
Right?
That's
Yeah.
not, but as Loud Voice, I mean, you're obviously with us on the journey as far as Loud Voice's Silent Streets.
Yes, yes.
We met in the pandemic online, all of us
That's right.
created together, and we made it work. We
That's
made
right.
it like
That's
we are
right.
now on our computers using Zoom. We knew that we needed to express our creativity. We knew that audiences needed a distraction from everything that was
Oh
going on.
yeah. Yeah, especially during that time. Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah,
really proud of all.
yeah.
I think it's
I know, and
fantastic.
I even seen a post with all of you uh, where, let's see, it was sort of like a mini reunion at that time, right? It was like you and Michael, Ella, Bella, George. It was like I think I can remember you all posted a photo. I think it was taken like in a McDonald's over there. You were all around. I
In the
says,
middle of
come
the
on.
night.
Yeah, and it's like, oh my God. I says, there's the After Mum crew. I says, oh my God. I says, I wish I could have been there, to reunite with all. I says that, I mean, that was such a great photo, and like a series of photos when you sort of did the town and went around, the city or whatever, taking like selfies of the four of you, or and yeah, that was absolutely great. Yeah, and then like almost a year ago, when both you and I and Bella and her mom we're all at the film festival in Barcelona.
That was
The
fun.
Yeah, Love and
We've
Hope.
had some adventures, haven't we? We really have had some adventures.
Yeah, and like you were mentioning, like we all got together on Zoom, never seen each other face to face, and then all of you met there in England, and then those of us who went to Barcelona. It's like I can remember the very first time that I seen all of you. It was We all agreed to meet at the Cinema Malda, and you and Ella and her mom were strolling around the streets doing sightseeing, and we were communicating virtually before we even saw each other, and we agreed to meet there. And then I was in front of the Cinema Malda, and then I kind of swung to my left, and it's like all of you were there, like in the distance down the street before the public square or whatever opened. And I says to myself, I says, oh my God, I says, these people are real. I says, my God, they got faces and bodies. They don't only have a face that's on the screen. I says, my God, I says, these people are real. And
You
I don't
looked
know,
at
I'm
me and
just
went, that person's really short.
say that again.
Looked at me and thought, that person's really short. I'm like, I'm so short.
and yeah, it was just as though when we got closer to each other, and took group photos and things like that. To me, I don't know how everyone else feels, maybe the same way, but I felt like even though only seen all of you virtually, only on Zoom, it's like I felt that I knew you all my life. Isn't that strange?
It's very, very strange.
It's
Yeah.
strange. It's like, we only communicated virtually, and most of the time it was in our roles, not one on one like, you are and I are doing now. And it's like, isn't it, I don't know how to even put it, strange or funny or uh, out of, surreal experience. Surreal. That's what I'm looking for. Surreal experience. I said,
Yeah.
this is a surreal experience. I says, I've never met them before in person, but I felt that I know them all my life. So yeah, and yeah, we all had a great time there. And well, we were long-lasting friends even before we met one-on-one, all of us. So yeah, this will continue virtually or in person or wherever.
That was an incredible experience in and of itself for me personally, because I'd never seen myself on a big screen before.
Me
That was the
either.
first time I'd ever
Me
seen
either.
myself. Incredible.
It's like I was just sitting there, and it's like, wow. I says, me up there, and Ella and Bex and Michael and Bella and everybody. It's like, yeah, that was the first time for me too.
That was
I,
surreal.
yeah, I just seen before that it was just me and you on these little screens, and Bella and Michael and Bella and everybody. Yeah. So, yeah, that was the first time for me too. Yeah. So, um, yeah, I could just keep talking about this on and on about Barcelona, but got to move on to my next question because there's so many things that I want to ask you and fit into while I'm interviewing here in the show. Um, I've noticed that some of your posts feature you doing things such as like hiking occasionally with your dog. You take pictures of your dog. And I haven't heard your dog yet. Is your dog still in the room?
I'm very, very quiet.
Your
Nobody's
dog can get
passed
on
the
your
window yet. It's only when someone passes the window, she's like, what's
oh
going on?
your dog can get on your lap if your dog wants to be in the photo. I leave it
I think she's
entirely up to your friend.
right now, but hopefully she'll make an appearance before the end of the show. We'll see.
Okay. So yeah, I've noticed your posts. You like hiking and you're into archery and so if you could tell us like the name of your dog, how long you've had your dog, and have you been always been into outdoor activities, archery, hiking, and all those things?
So I've not been hugely into outdoor activities until more recently. I've just kind of really got a passion at the minute for like learning new things and like exploring different things when it comes to like quad biking and archery and shooting and self-defense and like all different things. But yeah, when it comes to the outdoors specifically, I love the outdoors. I really do. Sometimes I struggle a little bit with kind of my energy and things like that. So I probably don't get out as much as I should. I am working on that, but mostly I love beautiful vistas, like lots of green scenery and like lakes and mountains and trees. And there's just something really, sounds so cheesy, but it's very spiritual
Oh yeah,
and
yeah,
it brings me a lot of peace just to be in the outdoors, regardless of the weather too. Like you'd think that everybody just like wants it to be sunny all the time, but I enjoy just standing out in the rain sometimes, or
yeah,
like traipsing through the snow, or like feeling this like crazy breeze just blasting my like. I love it. It's invigorating.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
really enjoy the outdoors. But
Yeah.
yeah, my dog is a little cockapoo
Ooh,
called Boudica.
say
Um,
say that again. The name?
Boudica, as in
Yeah.
like body seal.
Okay, okay,
Yeah, but I say Boudica because of my accent.
okay.
So, yeah, she's called Boudica and she's 2 next month. So she's still a little pup.
Oh,
She's dead cute.
she's just a baby. Yeah, she's just a baby.
She's so good.
Yeah,
She's she's funny. She's
yeah.
a little clown.
Well, let's see. Really, she's 2 years old. So, well, she's not even a teenager yet. I mean, she hasn't even reached like her sweet 16 birthday. She's on the cusp or on the verge of becoming a teenager.
So we're going to start getting a little bit of attitude soon, then I imagine.
That's right. I was just going to say that, the teen years, you got to watch out when you're bringing up somebody in the teen years. You got to watch out for that, like you say, mood swings or personality changes. So,
I
yeah.
have 2 children. I am aware.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, yeah. Well, fun but challenging at the same time, right? Fun but challenging. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, I assume that she gets along well with your children, or
Oh yeah.
oh,
Yeah,
okay.
she loves some species. In fact, sometimes she'll go for a walk with my partner and she's like, I'm not really sure about this. But whenever my youngest goes with them, she's like, yeah, let's go. Let's go. I've got my sibling with me. I'm all good. And then,
Well, dogs, they're part of the family just as much as people are. I mean, after a while, I think dogs get the feeling that they're people too, right? It's like I'm living with people, so I must be a people, right? Or a person, or however you want to say it. But yeah, you were talking about your outdoor activities, hiking and things like that. Uh, like you were saying, you like to hike and be in the outdoors, even if you have inclement weather, rain or whatever. And I've always known those type of outdoorsy people to be they call they call them fair weather hikers. Like they only go when it's like sunny and bright and warm and yeah, I think they call them like fair weather hikers or fair weather something, something
that
like
makes
that.
sense.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, if you like to hike and everything associated with the outdoors, I think you and your partner would absolutely love the Adirondack State Park in New York. That's forever wild. That can never be developed. No,
Oh,
yeah, yeah. I mean, there's towns that are interspersed, in between, but like outside the townships and the villages, no cities up there. But outside of those boundaries, those municipal boundaries, forever wild.
sounds like
If Yeah, if there happens to be a campground, and it's within the Adirondacks, and even if you live in a camp, you have to have the permission of the APA to even cut down a tree. You can't cut it. Like if there's a tree that's growing larger and it happens to be like next to your like camp or home or something like that, and if it's getting too big and too close to the side of your house, you the last that I knew, I don't know if they've changed this since, but you have to have permission to cut down a tree in the Forever Wild Park. And
with the
hiking
trees.
trails, lakes, uh, it's like endless up there. So I think you and your partner, uh, if you ever came this way, if you ever came west this way to New York State and like even Vermont or New Hampshire,
Oh,
plenty.
Vermont. I
Yeah.
got so close to Vermont when I went to Salem, but I didn't quite get up there. But it's on the
Oh,
list. And now the Adirondacks is also on the list.
oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, you've got a lot of things to do on your to-do list, your bucket list, like they say, right? So you got a lot of that, all of that to look forward, and if your 2 children are interested, take them along too. Get them into the hiking and the outdoors. So put put it into their brains or their psyche early, so they like the outdoors too. So yeah, yeah. Have you ever belonged to like where you are? Do they have any hiking clubs that you can join where they have like group hikes?
They do have hiking clubs and things like that, but I've never joined or anything like that, just
Mhm.
because I don't consider myself a hiker in the traditional sense. So I won't like plan a really long hike, and I don't
Oh,
like
okay.
equipment and gear and go hiking in that sense. I just go for like certain periods of walk. Depending on how much free time I have, I just
Yeah,
go on set
that's
in
yeah,
in places that I enjoy, but I
right,
don't do it as far as like structured hiking
right,
in
right, right.
professional sense.
Right. Well, it's nice to do it that way, like you were saying, when you have your free time and just go when you have time and just to get out in nature, enjoy it, and kind of clear your mind and recharge. That's the way that I see it, just to go out there for a walk by like a river, a stream, like a on a trail, just to do it at my leisure, just to like I said, just to like recharge
Really
and
interesting because it soothes, but it also gives you a boost at the same time.
oh, it
It's
does, it does,
really
it does. Yeah, yeah, it makes you ready to go back and face with whatever you might be challenged with, whether it be like family matters, work matters. So it kind of gives you that extra uh, boost. That's the only word I can think of, extra boost to help you with the different like challenges like that. So, well, let's see. We've talked about your acting, your directing, your hiking, your archery, your poetry, your dog, your kids, your partner there. So, in your career, in your performing career, uh, what projects do you see yourself getting involved in the future, or are there any in your future right now that you're at liberty to talk about?
yeah. So at the minute, I am working on a film of my own with a friend of mine, as I say, Francesca Lloyd. Um, and it is a film called Broken Shells. That is, we're hitting a few stumbling blocks as we go, so it is going to take some time to come together, I think, but we're getting there slowly but surely. So I'm looking forward to that. We're working on that at the minute. And then next week, I start filming a short film that was written by Grant Barker of Dark Fable Productions, and that's called Safe House. So I'm going to be traveling down to Norwich, where we'll be filming that, and then hopefully that will be out sometime maybe next year. So I'm looking forward to that as well. Um,
Great.
that's where we're at the minute. I
Wow,
think the rest of the time I'm just kind of keeping the muscle going and
that's
doing.
great.
And I tend to do a lot of writing. I just need to get these things made.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
but yeah, we're getting there. Like I say, I've been on kind of a bit of a break recently. I've needed to take some rest,
Oh,
but
yeah,
now to get going again. So I've
yeah,
done some auditions. We'll see how we go
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's good to do that every once in a while to kind of take a break and kind of recharge and without doing too many things at once or without doing things one after another without any breaks. So yeah, we all need that kind of break to recharge. So yeah, you were talking about upcoming films coming up. Um, uh, do any of your future plans involve like um, uh, say like live theater?
Yeah, potentially. I haven't done any theatre again in the traditional sense. So I've done showcases and things like that with like classes that I'm involved in. I haven't done any real stage theatre work. I have auditioned for theatre, but that is yet to come.
Mhm,
Uh,
mhm. And
Most of
you're not.
my training has been for screen. I am primarily a screen actor,
Okay,
but
okay,
I
okay.
have, as I say in showcases things like that, turned my hand at stage acting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I do find it really interesting. It's really interesting to both watch and perform in both screen and stage because they're so different. And it's really interesting to get across because everything is just so much more subtle and orchestrated on the screen, whereas everything is
Yes,
bigger on in theatre. And I just find the differences between it really interesting.
yes, yeah, yeah. Like on film, everything is like like so much smaller. The movements are smaller. It's like like all the emotions like come from the eyes, not like you were saying, not so much big gestures or like loud speeches or anything. Yeah, I've noticed that that too. That well, I primarily came up like in the theater, so I was used to big gestures and
It's funny,
you know.
really, that I haven't done stage, to be honest, because all I do is talk with my hands. You probably
Well, well, you and I got that in common. I talk with my hand. If I don't talk with my hands, I feel like I'm like this. I feel like somebody tied my arms to the side of my body. There, I've got to. It's
That's
like
one of the things I had
yeah,
to really kind of focus on getting used to when it came to screen acting, was just being as still as possible.
yeah. It took
Really,
me it took me quite a while to get used to that, to like the smaller gestures and everything on film. And in fact, my first exposure to film was on Zoom. I'd never been in an actual on-set location film or like a studio set or anything like that. My first exposure was on Zoom. So then that was, to me, that was sort of like a crash course on how far I could move my hand this way or like this
yeah,
way.
it's great practice, isn't it, for framing and things like that, and learning, because you're seeing yourself too a lot of the time, and that's really helpful as well.
Oh
There's a lot
yeah.
to be.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, that was a great help for me, having never been in film before. The Zoom was like, to me, I mean, personally for me, in my opinion, for me, it was like the perfect training ground before, branching out into like actual sets on set locations. So yeah, yeah, I noticed that difference myself. So yeah, quite a difference in acting techniques and putting emotions over on the screen versus the stage. So well, Bex, I would really like to thank you for being on my show today. I mean, I've had an absolute ball today. I mean, it's been such a pleasure talking with you. Like I mentioned to you before we started the interview, it's been like almost a whole year, even though we've interacted virtually, but uh, in roles, but not one-on-one conversation like this. So
It's
thank
been a lot.
you, thank
Thank
you
you so
very
much
much.
for having me. It's been lovely, and happy birthday again to the show.
Thank you. That's right. I forgot. I'm the birthday boy today, or I should say my show's the birthday boy today. So yeah, happy birthday to me. Yeah, um, yeah. If I had a piano or something here or an instrument, I would sing happy birthday to myself. So I'll just sing it to myself after we end the interview
We'll
here.
have a sing
So
song.
what's that? Oh, put it on TikTok. Oh, I could
No,
do that.
TikTok. No, I said we'll have a little sing song. You and I will have a little sing song together.
Uh, did you want to
Not
do it
right
now?
now. Only when we stop recording.
Oh, I knew you were going to say that. That's why I didn't ask you before. I knew you were going to say that. But yeah. TikTok. Or if you want to put your own post on TikTok, singing happy birthday to my show. Go, you're more than welcome to. I welcome all the birthday wishes that I can get. So yeah.
Challenge. I liked it.
The birthday challenge, the Edward S. Redcars Entertainer Chat birthday song challenge on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, either if it's on Reels or Stories or regular posts. And
Going viral, I can see it.
yeah. So yeah, thank you very much, Bex, for being on my show. Absolute pleasure with you, and yeah, thank you so much for graciously accepting my invitation to be on my show today.
Thank you very much, Edward.